mean, it would be nice to know whose responsibility it is in terms of transparency. We know that the governors have a responsibility in all of this. I mean, life will happen beyond fossil. And this transition and re-energizing of the industry we are talking about is not just about fossil, but we're going to use it for now, agreed, to get to where we're going to. But life after fossil, or life in a situation where fossil is going to be a mix, what would the governors be doing? If you can't run up and get all the monies you want to get internally, what are you doing? How are you responding, for instance, to the climate change question? Yeah. All of the drillings, explorations that are going on, how are you going to remediate? Do you have a think tank looking towards this? And I'm going to take this. I'm taking this to His Excellency, the Governor of Kebbi State. What is the state doing? What are you looking at as far as this whole conversation is concerned, especially life beyond fossil?
Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency, Governor John Kayode-Fayemi, and representatives of all the state governors here, our brother, the Honorable Minister of State, Permanent Secretary, and all the distinguished stakeholders, including my other brother, Alhaji Farouk Ahmed, who has been stretched to the limit by the challenges of the moment, but I believe he has been doing well, and indeed all the industry stakeholders here. Let me join Governor Fayemi in commending the Honorable Minister of State and those behind this initiative, and thank for inviting us, and I share in most of what Governor Fayemi says. And indeed, in the last 7 years, the National Economic Council, the Nigerian Governors Forum, and other forums of governors have been dominated, part of the discourse have been dominated by what can we do, what is our, in fact, we even have a zero oil committee to say, what can we do if we don't have oil, fossils? And so, and states have been challenging themselves to do more and differently, and they are cognizant of the energy transition that is taking place. Why we are all enthusiastic in support of the industry as documented in the Petroleum Industry Act, because especially for somebody from Kebbi State, a state that is not currently producing fossil oil, we reason that the fossil fuel industry developed by historic investment, which systematically provided support, subsidy, encouragement to industry players in order to get us to where we are. But now we are in a transition, and maybe for me in Kebbi, I don't have the flexibility to offer those systemic support that will support an investor in the transition, maybe an investor who is going to alternative energy sources like biofuel or even renewables. I still need to come back to the federation somehow. Even with Nigerian Content Board, I still need, it's still driven by a federal mindset.
Is that a challenge?
Sorry?
Is that a challenge?
Oh yes, it's a challenge in the sense that here is an investor maybe who is willing to go into partnership with me in Kebbi to do ethanol. But the structure of the industry is such that I will be dependent on the distribution, on the system of support that is in place by either by the federal government or by the legislation. And I'm not able to operate independent of those two. So it can stunt my ability to attract investment. It can stunt my the speed with which I can develop that sector. For example, in the last 4 years, in a partnership with NNPC, we have been doing, we have a program of cassava and sugarcane-based ethanol, which in itself evidences the challenge. Because if we are to achieve, for example, 15% mix, that means we'll be producing 10 million liters of ethanol. And I believe there are states that are able to produce that. And in doing that, is both equitable and it will foster a sense of each is contributing versus a sense of there are only few states that are contributing, which is even injurious to our unity thought process. And meanwhile, I felt that if I have received the investment that Bielsa, with due respect to the Honorable Minister, if I am to receive $2 billion, not even the $20 billion that he has received as investment over the maybe last 20 years, with the $2 billion I am able to contribute maybe 5 million liters of ethanol.
Okay, I hear you very clearly, and I think everybody does hear and understand where you're coming from. So I see there's, as it were, huge untapped potentials. So we are in agreement, as it were, that you want to do this. You want to begin to live life outside of fossil, or at the very least, look inward and see what you can do to contribute to the mix. But however, there's a control issue.
I think, to come back to what I said, I would like to see the Minister of Petroleum supporting NNPC in its effort to become truly an energy company and aim to have 20% of their production from biofuel. That will will make many states oil producers and contribute to agricultural prosperity of the country.